Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alright friends, I'm so excited to bring you some angsty and intense romance reads today, okay? We're doing recommendations with the theme of who hurt you. So if you don't know what that means, it's kind of like how it sounds. Maybe the hero directly will say that at some point when he finds out something. He'll be like, who hurt you? Or we, the reader, are wondering that while we're reading, who hurt this person? Or maybe we know, and this person's just going to need some extra care for them to be able to have a successful and happy relationship, okay? So a lot of these are pretty dark recommendations. Not all of them are. Some of them are done in a bit of a lighter fashion, but each one of these heroines has had something. I think it's all heroines in this one. Yeah, this one is all heroines that I did it. And it's when the hero says, who hurt you type of situation, okay? So yeah, all of these heroines have had something bad happened to them, and let's be honest, for most of them as well, it's something like sexually assault that's happened to them, and now they're with a new partner who's going to make sure they forget all of that. So let's go ahead and dive into these recs. I want to start with one that is a recent historical that I read, and I thought it was done so well, and this is Hold Fast by Eliza MacArthur. This is about our heroine Una, who in the beginning, she's getting out of a handfast with a sadist and an absolute asshole who has basically assaulted her the entire time they've been in their handfast. Now, if you don't know, handfast is a tradition where you kind of get like faux married to someone for a year and a day, and at the end of that time, you can either continue your vows and officially marry, or you can get out and there's not supposed to be any shame or any like, disparaging comments on your reputation. Now that doesn't always happen, but that's the way it's like supposed to be. And so when Una gets out of that, she's like, I am never getting tied down to a man after this. This was awful. I'm never going to trust someone with my body or my heart again. And then she runs into Ewan, who is in desperate need of a healer, and that's what she is. And so she comes to his keep and he starts being absolutely fascinated with her and wants to keep her for himself. So he's going to have a bit of a hard time with that with her past, but he's going to give it a good try. Then there is Sinful Vows by Lillian Harris. So this is one, I always forget about her series, but I really love her books. And this one actually has a single dad. This is mafia story, if you can't tell. And our heroine and her two friends were kidnapped 8 years ago. They were going on, I think, like a college road trip together, like spring break trip. And the three of them were kidnapped and forced into prostitution / human trafficking. And like, they've been held that way all this time, and they're so close to both like breaking. And so in this one, our heroine sees a chance to escape, and her friend that she's there with is like, you go for it. And she's like, if I leave you behind, you're dead. And she's like, well, we both won't get out, so you go for it. So she actually sneaks out when this man has come to the house to have a discussion with the men holding them, and she sneaks into the back of his vehicle. And then when she gets to his house, she's like kind of trapped in his like man cave garage room, and she actually witnesses him like torturing someone in there. And when he finds her, he could kill her, but he is aware that she was someone who was being abused there, but he's got to protect his family. So he actually kind of forces her into an arrangement. He's like, I won't kill you if you become my wife for a limited amount of time. My father's pushing me to get married. I don't want to do it, so I need someone that will be willing to go away. So he's like, if you do this marriage for me, and you are good to my daughter and all those things, I will make sure that you get away and are free at the end of this. So that's the bargain they make. Of course, he's not going to last too long before falling for her, but yeah, she's definitely been through a lot of trauma, and there are also a lot of secrets in the hero's life that we need to unravel as well. So this is actually the big first in the, I can't remember the name of the family now. I can't remember the family name, but it's the first in a mafia series, so you can start with this one if you want to. Okay, then we have a bit of a lighter one, even though the heroine still was assaulted before. So we have The Deal by Al Kennedy. So this is the first book in the off-campus series, which has just been redone. And I do mean it didn't just get new covers. This got a bit of remastering. There was some like wording that was fixed, and honestly, like, I didn't notice it, but when I was done, I just realized how smoothly it went and everything. And my friend Madison actually like works for Bloom, and so she was a part of seeing those changes done, and I thought it was done really, really well. And the Briar U books are coming this year as well. But anyway, so this one is about Hannah and Garrett, and Hannah is a musician and a college student, and Garrett is a hockey player, and his grade is slipping in this one particular class. And when he sees that she got an A on an assignment, he asks her to tutor him, and she's like, dude, I don't got time. I'm busy, and I don't care about tutoring a jock. And he's like, dang it, I really need her to tutor me. And so he eventually finds out that there's something she wants. There's this football player that she's attracted to, and Garrett is like, I could help you get a date with him if you tutor me. So she basically starts meeting up with Garrett to learn like flirting lessons, and part of that involves a fake dating, because he's like, if I date you even just a couple weeks, you'll be on people's radar. And she's like, that's not really going to happen. And he's like, honey, I have a reputation that will help you. So there's that. And then when because very quickly they become like friends, and they love doing this, and they are very attracted to each other, Hannah admits to him that she doesn't even know what she would do if she was seeing this guy, because she has some sexual hangups. She was raped at a party a few years back. I think it was like senior year of high school, and things did not go well. I mean, besides just the rape, things did not go well for her. So she's very like shy about that. And she asked Garrett to help her get comfortable with physical things, and he does. And then of course, it leads to more. And I love Hannah and Garrett, y'all. I love them so much. And this book has one of the very few third act breakups that I love how it plays out. Like, I don't love that they break up, but the way that it's done in this one, I had forgot how much I love it until I just reread this book, and I was like, damn, I love these guys. So, highly recommend. Okay, then we have Dom by S.J. Tilley. This is book 3 in the Alliance series. And this one we have Val and Dom. Now, this one actually isn't that it is sexual damage that was done to her. Val has just been very, like, abandoned and left on her own for her whole life. So she's very, like, she's just begging for family and affection. And her half-brother and sister, who are part of, like, the mafia, and her half-brother, like, she is actually the daughter of her, like, her dad's mistress, and so that's how she's a half sibling, and you know, she's a daughter of the other woman. And so her father always wanted to like take care of her. Like, he wasn't completely not there, but like they weren't his main family. And when he died, she lost even that, and her mother became a very bitter, cruel woman who was just trying to look out for herself and use her daughter to do that however she could. It was very hard to see. And now where she's at, she meets Dom, who definitely does target her because he knows whose sister she is, and he wants to use her to get a leg up in the Alliance. However, he also thinks she's sexy as hell. She's a plus-size woman. She's tall, and he thinks she's sexy as hell. And so it's not a hardship that he wants to, you know, trick her into a marriage and then use it for his gain. It's not a hardship for him at all. He's happy to do it. So I just really liked how this played out, actually. I loved these two together. And I loved that Dom started finding out more and more of the things that have happened to her. And when he learns the full scope of it, he confronts her brother and is just like, you go on and on about loyalty in the Alliance and how you need to look out for the people that are in it, and you left your sister out to dry because she had no choice to be the bastard daughter of your father, and you just let. And I just love how he defends her. Like, it's just so good. I love it so much. So this series is completely over the top. I say that I love the audiobooks so much. They make me so happy. I love them. So I have waited for the audiobooks to read them, but I did just get Hans for my birthday, and I don't know if I can wait for the audiobook. I don't know. We'll see. But this series has just gotten better and better for me, and Dom was definitely my favorite so far. So I'm very excited for Hans to see what he has to offer me. Okay, then we actually have a monster romance, and this is A Soul to Steal. So this cover, this was gifted to me from one of my patrons. They actually got me, like, these are supposedly the damaged versions from Faded Romance, and gosh, I love sometimes what's considered damaged. Like, literally, there is not a scratch on this thing, so I'm like, whatever, I'll take it. But this is book 2 in the Dustwalker Bride series, and this one involves our heroine, Delora, who, she, in the beginning, is very, like, mistreated by the humans, and she actually gets, like, she's getting, like, murdered for a crime that she committed, and so she gets thrown into the place where, like, I forgot what it's called. I'm so sorry. It's been a while since I read these, but she gets thrown into, like, the other world where, like, she's supposed to just die there. She's so broken, like, her back is broken, her body is broken, and she should die there. And this place where she fell is where all the monsters live. And now the Dustwalkers, they are a very interesting being. Like, I don't want to get into their whole backstory right now. This isn't the video to do that. But basically, like, they gain intelligence by the humans that they eat. And so there are some Dustwalkers that are more intelligent than others based on how many humans they've eaten. But they also have, like, fated mates. And this particular Dustwalker, he has seen one of the other Dustwalkers with their mate. And he doesn't fully understand how great that is, but he knows that he wants that. So when this woman literally gets dropped outside of his home, instead of eating her, he wants to heal her. And so he goes about doing that. And now she's his, and he wants to make her comfortable and take care of her and do everything that he can. But she has, you know, a lot of trauma, and now she's woken up in this scary place, brought back from death when she probably would have rather just died. And she's in a very, very dangerous position as well. Like, it's a very dangerous position to be in. But I loved how well this hero loves her. He actually doesn't have a name in the beginning of this because the Dustwalkers have to, like, choose their name eventually. They're literally just called by what their head looks like because they each have a different skull. I can't remember which is, he's not Ram Skull. I don't know which one he is, but this series is wild, okay? This series is wild. But there's definitely a lot of, like, damage she's been through in this one. But yeah, the first one, A Soul to Steal, really, really good. A Soul to Heal, this one is definitely more emotional and intense, so be weird for that. Okay. Now we have one that's just here to rip your heart out. We have Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This one was the, like, well, it was technically the second Kennedy Ryan I read, but the first one was one that I didn't like. But this one I'd heard so many good things about this one. But this one is tough. This one has a lot of domestic abuse in it, and some really hard stuff. But our heroine, she has actually met August before. I forgot what her name is. Is it no, Iris is the other one. Oh, this is Iris. I was right. This is Iris and August. And basically, like, Iris is with someone for most of this book, okay? That's where the domestic abuse comes into this. And August is a basketball player, and he just thinks she's so beautiful. He's met her on a few different occasions, but she's always belonged to somebody else, so nothing could happen. But as her life has progressed, the abuse has gotten worse, and now she's trapped with this very wealthy partner who has her under his thumb, and eventually their child under his thumb, and she just feels like she has no escape. And then August reaches out a hand to help her. But it's going to be very dangerous to do that. Like, this is a contemporary, but, like, it's dangerous for him to do that and to get involved, but he just can't help himself because he just feels this crazy connection for this woman, and he can't bear to walk away from someone who might be his soulmate who's in a position like this. So it's very intense, but it is also just, I mean, it's Kennedy Ryan, so, like, she's gonna break you, but she's gonna heal you too, and this one definitely fits the who hurt you line of it for sure. It absolutely does. Okay, now we're bringing back an oldie, and I accidentally grabbed the second one, so I'll hold up the first one, but let me see. Yeah, I grabbed the wrong one, but see, I grabbed Begging for It. I will put it up. Asking for It is the one I'm recommending. So I haven't talked about this book in a long time, but my podcast buddy Tara finally read this one for our kink video that we did, and it reminded me of just how much I love these books. So I really want to reread them. I want to put them on a TBR soon and reread them. But these books this is a duet. There is also a third one that's like a epilogue one kind of. But these are about Vivian and Jonah, who share a very specific kink, and they share the kink for rape fantasy. Okay. And the way that they end up hooked up together is that Vivian, she's had this desire for quite a while. She actually is in therapy, which was nice to see, and she discusses these things, but she wants rape fantasy, and she actually can only get off when her partner is like pretending to do that. Otherwise, she can only get off herself. And the people she's been brave enough to share this with, the men have been very uncomfortable doing it, which again, totally fair to not want to act as the aggressor in the situation or as the rapist. Like, that is completely fine. However, when they're at a party one night, he gets really drunk and he's missing her, this ex-boyfriend, and he starts blabbing about her sexual proclivities. And he's like, if only I could do it, if only you didn't want that. And someone overhears. And this person who overhears, his name is Jonah, and he actually has a matching kink for this, okay? So again, I feel like Lilah Pace does this story so well, because that's the thing, right? I understand why a woman would have rape fantasy, but why does a man have it? Okay. And I mean, there's plenty of books we read with that where we don't even think about why the man likes CNC or primal play or like whatever. But this book actually looks into like why both people have this fantasy. And it was why this book is so special to me, and it's been a favorite for so long, is that it was one of the first books that made me as the reader start to understand my own like kinky desires and stories, and that it was okay to like books that had, non-con, dub-con, CNC in them. But yeah, there definitely is a trauma in her past that makes her want this, and there's a trauma in Jonah's past that makes him want to be the person doing it. And I don't want to spoil his like why that is for him, but the way that this author navigates that and helping him explore why he wants to be the aggressor in that and what led him to, he feels like a freedom and a release to be the one like doing that. I don't want to spoil it because it was so well handled. I just loved it. It was so well done. It was so well done. So yeah, this is a duet. Start with asking for it. Then you can read begging for it. And it's a good duet too. It is one that should be a duet. Now, I'll say this. You cannot buy physical copies of this book anymore. It is out of print. You will have to get the ebooks for it. Okay? Just warning you so people don't whine about it to me later. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Okay. Got to get through some of these before I lose my light. It's happening. It's happening. Okay, we have another historical here. This is How to Love a Duke in 10 Days. I haven't brought up this book in forever. But this one is about Piers and Lady Alex. And they end up, she needs to get married to save her family from bankruptcy. The thing is, he's been tricked before by a non-virginal partner. I don't know another way to say this. So he very much wanted to marry a virgin this time so that he knows any children are his, which, how else would a man know that back in the day if his woman was lying to him? And so anyway, they meet, they end up getting married. However, she's not a virgin. But she's not a virgin for, a good reason, okay? And so, unfortunately, our hero, jumps to conclusions. I don't totally love the thing that, like, a man can absolutely feel a woman's virginity. For the purpose of the story, he needs to. So we roll with it. It's a trope for a reason. Some people do. And in this time, I feel like you would. It's not the same as today, like, Anyway, whatever. We won't get into that. For the point of the story, he needs to. And so she's not able to like explain to him why she's not. She can't do it. And so he's very upset, but he's like, well, we're not going to undo it. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait till your next like menstrual cycle, and it'll prove to me that you're not coming to me to, solve a problem for you, right? Which again, that sounds harsh to say it, but like, he's been lied to before. You'll see that in this story. And also, how else was a man supposed to do it? You know, he's not going to subject her like to a doctor thing or anything. He doesn't want to do that. And he also doesn't want anyone to know that he's questioning her. So he asks her, when's your next period supposed to come, right? That's basically what he says. And she's like, it's in 10 days. And he's like, okay, we're going to wait till then. And then I'll know that any child would be mine. And so they go about lots of flirty with each other. And she's going to try to make him love her by the time they're doing it. So anyway, I really love this one. I love this whole trilogy. This one is The Devil in My Bed, or The Devil You Know, I think is the series. But I really loved this trilogy so much. So, and look at this cover. So pretty. Okay, then we have Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. I've talked about this book a bazillion times. This one is about Ivory and Emmerich, and he is her teacher. She is a senior. She is 17 when this story starts. It's taboo. It's Pam Godwin. But Ivory has been through some shit, y'all, okay? She has been mistreated by, like, everyone in her life. She has been forced to use and share her body with others to get by. Her family doesn't give a shit about her. She's been assaulted numerous times by her brother's friends, and as well as her brother's friend specifically, as well as her friends at school. Well, they're not her friends, by guys at school who will pay her money to do stuff with her. Like, she's basically had to do what she has to do to survive. And then she meets Emmerich, who is a dom. He is a very, like, you know, he's very aware of those types of things. And he starts watching her at first. And yeah, it does become sexual and it's uncomfortable, okay? It gets there. However, in his watching of her, he starts to put the pieces together of what's happening to this girl, and that she's not as slutty as everyone's saying she is, and she's not these things. Like, there's something going on. And when he discovers what's going on, he decides he's going to step in and make it better. I'm not saying it wasn't taboo. Okay, this is a super dark book, but this was one of the books that first showed me the power of a safe word, how it was used. And so I read this a long time ago now. And it also showed me how a taboo kinky novel could be so touching, because to me, where these two end up, these two are meant to be together. Would it have been better if they'd met a couple years later? Sure, but then it wouldn't be a taboo Pam Godwin kinky book. So definitely Ivory is someone who has had who hurt you happen to them. Okay, then we have Balthazar the Spare by Minerva Spencer. This is the first book in her Hale saga, Americans in London. This is the only one out so far. There's another one coming soon. But this one is a super interesting setup, and it's actually an older woman romance. She is Balthazar's brother's housekeeper. She's a single mom, although that's a bit of her secret for the who hurt you part. Now, Balthazar and his family, they actually grew up in a commune. They were Americans, and their older brother is a duke. Yeah, he's a duke, and he didn't know about his siblings until recently when his father died, and in the will, he'd left provisions for his family. The father had actually left and moved to America, and that's when he, like, had all these kids in this commune. And when the brother finds out about it, he moves the whole family to London, and now they have to start acclimating to this, and it's very difficult for them. One of the aspects I loved about this is that, like, Balthazar, it's very interesting because he is very, like, sexually intelligent and free, but also in the commune that they were in, you weren't allowed to, like, have a partner that was just yours. Like, you weren't allowed to. And if you got too attached to one of your sexual partners, you had to, like, move on to someone else. So he's never been able to, like, be committed to a single person. Honestly, not by his own choice. I thought it was a very interesting take on it. But anyway, he becomes interested in Victoria, who is, as I said, the housekeeper. And she has been led astray by lords before, flirting with the help. And she actually wasn't always the help, by the way. There's been a lot that's happened to her. And Balthazar, this is a reverse grumpy sunshine. Like, he's such a happy man. But he also is very intelligent, and he understands that there's more going on than he can see. And he very much wants her. But she's like, I can't give more than, like, I can't risk this position. I can't risk that. And Balthazar's like, but maybe we could be amazing. Like, let's figure it out. So anyway, I love this. This one is like, I always say Minerva Spencer or SM Violet doesn't get enough attention for people who like, you know, more sexy historical romances and like more unique plots. Like, I haven't read two plots the same by Minerva Spencer in the years that I've been reading her. So I highly, highly recommend you check out. I know these covers aren't great, guys. I know they're not. She has weird covers on her newest books, but they're good, okay? Look beyond the cover, damn it. Okay, and the last one is another historical, and this is Surrendering to the Duke by Stevie Sparks. Oops, shiny. This one is a dead brother's widow, and we also have a heroine who was sexually abused, and not by her husband, though, in this one. She actually was rescued from a very bad situation. She was actually being molested by a family member, and she met the first Duke, which I can't remember his name now, but the oldest Duke. Is it Margaret? Okay, I don't remember, but the oldest Duke, and he actually rescues her, and they have a marriage of convenience, but she has great respect for this man because of what he did for her, even though they don't really have more than just affection for each other. It was a good marriage. But then he ends up dying, and now the younger brother, Michael, is the Duke. And Michael has actually kind of always had a thing for his brother's wife, but he stayed away. He was like, I would never betray that. But now that his brother's dead and he's the Duke, he's been forced to come back to home and to see this woman again, and he has all these feelings, and it just so happens that his mother would really, really like Emmeline and her daughter, because there is a child, to stay around the home forever. So she's like, son, you should marry your brother's widow, which I think is interesting because the marriage law must be repealed now. I didn't think of that because this one takes place in 1919. By the way, this cover is kind of deceiving for this one. For the next book in the series, she fixed the cover issue kind of, but this must be after they repealed that act, because I believe you're not supposed to be able to marry your brother's widow. That's literally a plot in other books. I didn't even think about that, actually. But either way, in this story, either we're ignoring it or it is repealed. It must be. I'll have to look that up, but that's fine. Whatever. And Michael really does want her, but she is very afraid of, you know, sexual things again. And she knows that with Michael, he would actually like love her. This wouldn't be a marriage of convenience. And so she's very nervous about that. Now, Michael, he's determined to convince her and win her. And when he starts finding out more of the details of what her marriage with his brother was like, because again, it was amicable and they cared for each other, but sex was never what it was about, even though, yes, she gave him a child and he was very happy with his child. They didn't love each other, and so she's never had an orgasm. She's never had good sex, and she's very afraid of it because it was used as an abuse tool, and then it was also just uncomfortable when she had it with the brother. So Michael doesn't just want a marriage of convenience. He's like, I want us to be in love, because like he's liked her for a long time. So he doesn't want a paltry excuse of a marriage. He wants a real one. So that means that he's going to date her and win her over. And so it does. So this one does have some dark elements in it. We do have a few flashbacks to the stuff she's lived through. I don't think there's like graphic descriptions of what happened to her, but like we see what things were like, as well as there's her PTSD, and there is also a bit of like Michael's PTSD from the war as well. So there we go. Those are some romances with the theme of who hurt you. Let me know some of your favorites. Also, recently I did a video that was redemption arc stories, as well as I did villain gets the girl. So definitely check those out. Have them in my recommendation playlist, which has over 300 videos. If you're looking for some romances to read, I got you, girl. I got all of it. If there is a video that maybe I have missed, I do have both a book recommendation form and a video recommendation form down below if you would like to recommend something for me to make for the channel. So thank you so much for watching, friends. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.